And we are in. Our first opponent today is going to be Jomi, who actually is somebody who is a Kaizo Mario player in his own right. And we'll be moving first, so let's see what I can do with this. Currently the Y is a bit of a problem. Probably just want to play it off somehow. Either with a 5-tile play or just something smaller. I'm just going to do a quick cursory check of this to see if we might be missing something good, but rather than spend too much time on it, let's just go Yom. This is going to be riddles. And we can see if there's perhaps something else in here, but would not be sure at all about something like litters. I think it is just riddles. And yeah, we've got a lot of positioning that we can do here. Can just go parallel, probably. Kind of like that position, even though it does open up the 2x2 on either side. Okay. That seems to be the major risk at the moment, just the 2x2 plays that go through either lane. Against an opponent of this strength, they are things that you do have to account for, even when you are seemingly ahead this early. And in the meantime, let's look ahead to see what else we can do here. Eventually, you'll notice that the top corner right now is kind of closed off, but that you can eventually extend out here with something like L, followed by A. Very likely, though, the way that the top left is going to open is just through something like big play down to the R. Seafoods, very nice. I'm going to look very quickly here, except the problem is that A and E are not going to go after the S. And so that's not going to be great. I could perhaps do something down here. Should also look over here. Something like bank 26. Nah, I don't really like that. Feel like we should look over here as well. So let's see what we can do with this. I mean, something like this is actually the same kind of tiles, except scoring much better and also closing off that position. Like that. This is going to take the A as well as the E in this spot if we wanted to eventually go down here. Notice that riddles would potentially take something in front like a G for griddles. Priority this turn, though, is definitely going to be to play off some E's with something like épée or something equivalent. So we'll just have to see what is going on my opponent's side. Okay, UVA. V is going to kind of lock this up as a spot. And in general, that's not going to be all that interesting. We could just go P and then open up the left side for my own E hook, given that we're so heavy on E's right now. Don't know if that's really what we want to be doing, though. But yeah, definitely want to play off at least 2 E's. The reason I wouldn't just go épée directly, of course, is just because of the way the E sets up that triple. So yeah, let's just go with that. Not really too happy with it, actually. But we do have some possibilities for a follow-up. Well, maybe not, depending on what we draw. So it does at least start to close off around that R in riddles. Although this is currently wide open for something. Yeah, lots of possibilities on this board, actually. I mean, obviously you're not going to have much going this way directly, but with the E-hook here, with this lane here, and with this lane here, there's a fair bit that can happen. This too, although it doesn't seem to be as much of a threat right now. Asteles. Seems like a high probability Collins word. I'm not really sure about it, but it's one of those that I think my opponent would almost certainly know cold, so sometimes you do have to make some tricky challenge decisions when you are at a bit of a lexical disadvantage, as I am here. Very tempting to just play off something like that. Keeps a pretty decent lead for 21 points. Was also thinking of maybe going down here with something. So for example, just moat. No, I actually do like this, except... yeah, I actually like that. Okay. Currently, doubling up on the H is not the best, perhaps, but the CH combo can get you places, so... Q is just going to lock that up. Can't really do anything at all with Q right now. So... I will just have to go somewhere else. And yeah, let's see what I can do with this. Definitely looking at this as a potential spot, especially given what we have here with the H. But, oh, I occasionally forget that ST is a word, and so that could be something to keep in mind if I'm looking for some kind of position there. But I don't think that's going to do anything too useful for me. I almost just want to just do something like that, because then you leave room for vowels to go behind a CH as well. OCH is definitely good. Now, this feels like it's something, and we should perhaps be looking at it. Currently looking at lanes through the M, looking at lanes through there. Probably should just take the J spot if I can't find anything directly, though. Also, very important to remember that the H, of course, just goes under the other C in case we need that to come over that way. This looks like it's something, or that it's close to something. Like, I don't know if it's hotelier, hotliner, I don't know. Nothing that fits. Feels like I am definitely missing something with this one, though. And yeah, to play would just be to go down here on a J and just grab that 30. I am behind now. I feel like if we find something like an A to play through, that we have some kind of variant on Hetera out of the many, many that exist. But if not, well, we'll just have to see. We'll just see if we have anything that we can actually play through. Definitely still looking mostly in these positions here. I really do feel like with the previous rack I missed something, but sometimes these things can be a little bit difficult to call. And yeah, definitely lost that advantage fairly quickly early on, partly because my opponent had the 2 bingos down with seafoods and Asteles or Asteles? I don't know. We'll just have to hold out and see what happens. Yeah, currently looking at potential plays down there. It would also, of course, be important to look at this. Now that we have a couple of things that do go in front. Yeah, I was thinking something like hair. Consonant vowel balance on the leave is probably not good, but notice how comparatively low on vowels the bag is. 15 to 25, okay, it's not too low, but it means that I'm a little more comfortable than usual keeping 2 vowels, 1 consonant. Although, I'm kind of aware of the fact that bingo lanes are being blocked off quickly, and maybe I should not be thinking about building a bingo rack. At the same time, you get unitage. Unitage doesn't seem to fit anywhere. Yeah, because this does block off that former lane here. If something does open up for unitage, we'll keep an eye on it. Let's see if anything will come down here. Elastic. Mostly just have to look at this, or perhaps the L lane. And yeah, certainly mostly just looking at something like the C ending, whether we can get like an IC. Doubt it'll be something with the doubled I. So yeah, okay, this was maybe not ideal. Especially because, yeah, I guess it was a big mistake to try to build towards a bingo while also blocking this lane, because we would have had a spot for unitage if I had not done that. Trying to remember if something like augite is good. We still have a fair bit left in the bag. I believe this is good. Might as well turn over, get rid of that U, try to open up some space. That, again, might not necessarily be the best idea, but the U and G, if they weren't going to hit, were going to present a bit of a problem, so. Currently thinking about what can still bomb this location. Notice that the X is still in the bag. X could hit that really quite hard. And so we'll have to watch my opponent's play, given that he would have just drawn a completely random rack after Elastic. Okay, fishing off that one tile, but for 28 points, so that's pretty significant. So, implication here seems to be that he's quite confident in hitting something soon. We'll have to see what that is. Yeah, currently I don't really see a particularly good place to be using the Z. Okay, I mean... And again, it's a little bit low on vowels there, so I'm worried about keeping the V and going low on vowels because things are closing up fairly quickly. Otherwise, I would be thinking of something like of there. 19 is kind of weak, considering how far behind we are. But yeah, the V is a massive problem right now, especially with my opponent playing one tile and potentially threatening something big, or perhaps just closing off that opportunity in order to limit comeback possibilities. So, currently looking at ways I could potentially open up and create some additional space, which, given a 16 in the bag, does not look great at all. Yeah, ideally I want to at least get rid of the V in some fashion that isn't too limiting. I don't know if I see it. Yeah, we're in a lot of trouble, actually. Still the possibility of an X-Bomb here, which we really didn't do much to draw towards, given the low turnover of that play. The V and the W together are just going to kill us here. But we'll see, because I should have been thinking about what I could potentially do to string a Z play there. But with only the blank remaining and no S's, and one O, two I's in a bag, it wasn't very likely that we would get something like Zinx or Zinco in there in time. But I did need to think about putting some kind of big Z play there, potentially. Especially with my opponent just playing off one. This does indicate to me at least that he was not holding the X, and if he was not holding the X drawing into one tile, I'm not too worried about this spot yet. I may be a little bit more worried about it now. Seriously though, the B and a W are a massive problem. 11 in the bag. I mean, I could maybe go for an exchange, but we don't really have much to work with. It could also be that this was just a scoring play to lock that up before I could get to it. And in retrospect, I suspect that was perhaps the case. I feel like I should throw in and maybe like go full bore for something like Zinco. I feel like he probably perhaps has to blank, but I don't know. I don't trust that to stay open. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. VW, everything, yeah. Really feels like I have to throw in. But I would be gunning for either a blank to put something under elastic, or perhaps to go for Zinx or Zinco, or for an X play. I think throwing in a fairly high amount is maybe not the worst thing here, so maybe keep either just ZN or ZEN. Which I mean, none of this looks particularly smart. Definitely throwing VW, but then the question is, do we go for kind of a bingo prone wreck, knowing that there are hardly any hooks? Or do I kind of keep opportunities open? Let's do that. Okay. Not the worst thing in the world, and we actually do get the zinc play here for 70 points. I am not at all expecting that to remain open. I should also think about whether... Oh yeah, we have a Zingani, perhaps. I don't remember if it ends with the E. So the thing I'm looking for is Zingani. We have Zinks, or Zinko, for 70. Zingani doesn't go anywhere, so that's kind of academic. Could also look at anything down here. Okay, that's going to get blocked. And you also isn't going to take anything behind, which is a bit of a problem. So however, if we can find a decent scoring play with this Z that draws into something decent. I mean, I wasn't at all expecting, for instance, that we would be drawing the blank. So, let's see if we can have some kind of Z play that doesn't just burn the blank. I mean, ZA here scores 40. It really doesn't do anything for me positionally, though. Also looking at the C hook on hair for chair, and whether we could string any vowels towards that, but doesn't look like it. Cordial Snell, welcome. I feel like we need a score, because I need a big play and a bingo, probably. But the problem is that at this point, bingo possibilities are pretty much completely closed. There's just nowhere to go on the board with 9 in the bag. And so something like this doesn't open up the position in a way that does anything for me, and that's my problem with it. It actually closes this up further, whereas we could have otherwise a long shot that goes like either O and then C, or I and C, or something like that. But yeah, he correctly saw that after the exchange, since he wasn't holding the blank, he wanted to kill this. Doubling N is also a problem that we're still dealing with. I feel like I have to do this. Only 6 tiles through here, so we're not going to bingo under it, but... Oh, we've got the X-Bomb. Okay, wonderful. We actually now have a bit of a long shot. But... we'll see. Yeah, because depending on whether the X-Bomb goes down in this location, that's going to recover about 50 points. That's also going to threaten something down here. So the question now is, do we go XI, given the choice, or do we go AX? And given the remaining pool, I think we go XI, if this is available. It might not be available. Keeping a double the N is still not great, but... okay, we're in great shape now, actually. 3 in the bag. We have to think about this carefully. So these are my choices. XI, AX, and I need to threaten some kind of big play with the blank coming out of that. And it's going to leave 1 tile in the bag. Now, in either position, it is somewhat likely that my opponent will have some kind of play, except he has no E to go on X. And very few good plays coming down here with the only tiles that are going to start in that position. So I think this is definitely the play, looking at it now. And yeah, now we're going to threaten something quite big. Perhaps. I think he knows at this point that he has to go here. He can't go up because AX only takes the E at the end. He has to go down with something. And at this point, I mean, if this gets blocked off, I may be dead anyway. But we should also be looking at anything through here. That's an extreme long shot. I mean, maybe something down here, starting with S. Unfortunately, not the kind of letters for something like on stream or anything like that, even if we are on stream. Yeah, he must absolutely play here, though. Otherwise, we have something like Tanners, and we just win. I think he knows, given the tiles that are unseen on my side, that something must go here. So the question is, what is our backup play? Do we have something decent? Like here, that's 20 points. We would need to think about in out in 2 sequence for sure. Taigen, okay. I think we are dead now. But because I don't think EEW takes anything at the end. I'm pretty sure, in fact, that it doesn't. So, but then it is Collins, so you never know. But we have basically 3 minutes to look for something spectacular. And I don't think we'll have it, but it's worth looking. We can, of course, use blank as S down here for something. I don't think it's really going to be anything good unless it's something like Taser, 30 points. That's not going to get me close enough. So, yeah, we are probably dead. But unless we have something like a 7-tile extension coming down here, that would be fantastic, but very unlikely. Yeah, I think this is where we admit defeat, but actually kind of a decent effort at the end there. It's just that this was a fantastic play. This was the thing that killed my Z-bomb and killed this entire lane down here, and so I think we just go for this. I don't think I actually have a good play afterwards to get rid of both ends at once, but I don't think I'll be outpaced either, because with T, V, and W, my opponent will be taking 2 turns to play that off. Fairly certainly. So I should probably just be going for something like this. ANN, I think, is actually good in this lexicon, so I would just be going down here next turn. So yeah, Local Coffee, unfortunately, with the bag empty, I have lost this game. My opponent did block my best remaining play after here, and with being about 50 points behind, it's not going to happen. Because otherwise I would have played something like Tanner's down here, or one of the many other plays that could have gone, but he absolutely knew that, he saw that correctly, and that was blocked. And so going to be a loss, 425 to 424. Great game. So, yeah, it looked like my opponent was in a pretty scary situation there where what he's reporting to me is that his only vowel for that play there was actually the E, so he made a gigantic gamble to block that. And it was absolutely the game-winning play. Absolutely the game-winning play there. I was only one tile off anti-room or something to the M. You know, I didn't see this hook. That's fantastic. I didn't even consider that. And that's absolutely a board vision issue. But anyway, let's go through this game because I felt like the ending sequence was really interesting in terms of volatility. That, you know, we had Z, X blank all come out at the end, while it was kind of difficult to read my opponent after this one. So, Nizam was an interesting spot here, yeah. Guess so. Let's go to the analysis board and just see. Oh, also I realized that I didn't actually put up my note screen throughout that entire game, which is too bad because I was mostly just looking at bingo possibilities in a notepad. So let's go to the examiner. And might have to rush through some of this because pairings might be up fairly soon, but we'll just see if I missed anything really, really critical. So this was my opening rack. And yeah, I was thinking about something ending in Y. I don't think I knew Dormy. Being ahead in golf by as many holes to be played, also in Dormy with an IE. Oh, I see. So it is an adjective. Okay. That's why I would never have seen something like an IES ending. Domi. Could open against Jomi. But yeah, I went for Yom. Feel like that was fairly defensible because I did draw into a bingo. A very vowel-heavy start for my opponent there. And what did he end up doing? Yeah, I guess... oh, he just decided to keep the D and play off 2 tiles. A lot of these are fairly similar in terms of evaluation, though. Anyway, I don't know if I had anything better than riddles. Yeah, Slitter. I rejected the idea of litters. I didn't think it was good, and I appear to be correct about that. I don't know if I would have been confident about Slitter, which is a Scots word. It might be Collins. And okay. Apodoses. Apodoses, look at that. But he did find seafoods. Yeah, given the time he took, he was probably looking for something that would go through here or here, but being that heavy on vowels, that would have been quite hard to see. I always loved this rodeos. So for those who don't know, that's basically like a rodeo, but with cars. A competition for truck drivers. Yeah, a lot of possibilities here, but I think Seafoods was pretty good. Positioning-wise, it locked up all this stuff. Yeah, I looked at Bank. Wow, it actually was, by equity, the best play over there. NABK is Collins' word to the max here. NABK is a prickly shrub. The Christthorn. Also, Nebuk, Nebek, and Nebek. That's something I would never have thought to visualize. That is such a stereotypical Collins for. Where you just have consonants that should not go together that way. UVA, given his rack, yeah, actually pretty obvious. Although at that point, he's also thinking about creating positions for his own S. And so, yeah, I think it's a very clear play. M-Person. Best by equity, and from Spencer, I would not really have known that confidently, and I wouldn't have been comfortable with that kind of thing either. Peace is an obsolete piece. I don't think I would have wanted to open this lane after his previous play. So I'm pretty happy. I mean, yeah, if I'd seen this, maybe I would have gone for it. But I was pretty happy with the idea of P giving myself an E lane as somebody holding 2 E's. Astelise is correct. I didn't know it, but Esteli, I guess, because it's like a Stella. Yeah, but it was such a high probability thing, I figured that he knew it 100%. And Natcat, welcome. Never playing Bank again, just draw to challenge. Yeah, in Collins? Yeah, definitely. Nab K. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just took Mole at this turn, but that was purely from positional considerations. Lots of really interesting parallels, though, that are pretty sound positionally. I think given 20 vowels, 36 consonants into back at this point, that's leaving OE is actually not bad at all. And so, if I had been watching the pool, maybe I should have considered that more closely. But at the time, I was thinking about trying to give myself lanes with bingo tiles. Look at this, drawing to J and a Q at once. And of course, his priority there is to take out the Q. I'm pretty sure. But what did he do here? Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, interesting that he doesn't go for that, but that's because he's keeping the S, and the leave here is terrible with J and G. Very clear that he wants to draw into something like an I to follow up with a J play, which he eventually does. Hecht, like the legendary Hollywood screenwriter Ben Hecht, or in this case, it's Scots. Also Height and Het. All kinds of spellings. And yeah, he does draw 2 I's, in fact, and so very convenient placement there. So follow up directly, and it scores well enough with tagging onto the Q that way that he's not too worried about following up. Now this rack I looked at for a while because I saw some 8s that didn't fit. I didn't see the 7, if there is one. And it doesn't seem there is one. Liroth, what is that? Oh, okay, it's just like a lira. It's currency. I think playing down here was fine, though. You can see that they all evaluate very closely, about 43 to 44 points when you consider equity. And yeah, given the positioning here, pretty happy with that. I was looking at 8s like Hotelier, and I think maybe Hotliner is good, but let's look that up, actually. I don't know why I think it's good. Yeah. Someone running a radio call-in show, which is fairly close to what we do sometimes with Mario Maker Nights. And look at this. He misses Paralysis. I was thinking about the A-hook here. I know that's Collins only, I think, but I was thinking about this being very flexible for many vowels, and Paralysis is just crazy. I guess if you have the right disconnected tiles to play through, you get Paralysis. But this is a kind of moth. And yeah, Paralysis, okay. Paralidid. Lots of related words in there. And instead he's going to go for Ropey to close that off, which has the person ahead. You can see why. So yeah, I was really unhappy playing in this position after the fact because I blocked my own lane while building the bingo tiles, and so you can see that hair actually does evaluate as the second best play by a hair. And considering the pool, I was pretty happy keeping EIT, but killing my own lane there was not great, especially because Aha it restricts what I can do down here as a parallel. So wasn't quite happy with that. This is absolutely going to go down. He plays Elastic, which mostly just has the drawback of creating an S lane. But he has lots of choices, especially with the C being able to hook on there. So he misses a couple of the 90-point bingos with the C hook on hair. And you get stuff like Estelic. I'm pretty sure Estelic would not take an S because it is, of course, the same kind of thing as Stellies. So yeah, main objection to Elastic is that it does remain volatile, and of course you have the X-Bomb potentially coming. So I saw Unitage right away, but no spot for Unitage, so I didn't end up finding any 8s. And there are no 8s, so Allgite evaluated best and we snagged that. Which, given the blank in the bag and some of the good stuff like the Z and the X, is not a bad idea, given that I don't have a lot of great options to dump the G into U otherwise. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, just making sure we don't have pairings up for the next round yet. We are going through this rather quickly. Oh, I hadn't really thought about this position here. Once again, as somebody not holding the blank, I doubt he wanted to do much more there to create even more potential hooks for the big lane down bottom. But yeah, I was sort of thinking about what to do to get out of this, but I hadn't thought about the F hook there, partly because I was not the person holding the F. So yeah, drawing 6 tiles into this. At the time I was thinking, how do I get rid of the V, and I just didn't see that, hence the exchange, which... I mean, given that I'm about 100 behind, I guess the exchange is sort of defensible if I think I'm going to draw something good. It might actually have been a bad idea for a reading display. It's we're going to go into pairings in just a second, so I'll just go through this really quickly to see if we missed anything huge. And yeah, missed that position here. No, I was not going to do that. I feel like exchange was fine. And yeah, fantastic play there positionally, given that E was his only vowel, and that was looking very dangerous, but that was the block of the game. And yep, we didn't have any big plays other than that. Gelastic, look at that. Didn't think about that as a hook. Relating to laughter. Pretty happy with XI there positionally. It does force him down, and I was worried about the TW start. But yeah, looks like positionally he has to take the right side to win. And he did read that correctly. So yeah, our next opponent is going to come up in a moment. Taser was indeed the best play, on the assumption that we can get the out in 2, which I was pretty comfortable with, given that he has issues getting rid of the W and V together. So looks like we're going to be going into call-ins for our next game as well, so that's going to be a victory for our opponent, Jomi, 454 to 425, and let's get into the next match. Okay. This time we'll actually get to Notepad up in case. And we'll be going second this time. The thing I'm thinking immediately is that we need to get rid of the V by some means, so, you know, you would have like Ovoid, or even just Void, if you want to set up Ovoid behind Void. Looking at the ISM ending, I don't know if something like Voodooism exists, but I feel like going something like Void or Ovoid is not a bad idea. So the question here is positioning. I think this is going to be fine, given that O parallels are not going to go from the V. And let's see what we can do from here. So yeah, looks like we probably do some kind of play going down to... Whoops, let's get the drawing tool up. Ovoid here, potentially. Could also go through here if the consonant remains open in this spot, but I assume she will probably make some kind of play going down in that direction, so... yeah. Priority here is probably just to undouble the O at least. Probably keep ST. I think Momo and Moho are good. Or Mofo and Boho. Boho with Hobo is a decent set. Anyway, lots of stuff you can do with H's and O's. Lots of interesting anagram pairs as you get into those four-letter words, so... And we'll just have to wait to see what comes down. And... yeah. Okay. Whis does take an I in front. We don't have the I, obviously. And... yeah. I don't know if we care too much about leaving something like an O there as something that could be an XMOM risk. Also thinking about what we can do for hooks, such that if we found some way to come down here instead... See, the issue right now is that the S is not that useful for us. Something like this is not too bad. Actually, something like this is not too bad at all, because then we fork the board in a way that gives me S and S. 19 points, though, compared to 28. You know what? No, I like this, because then you leave this lane for the other O. So you have S lane here, S lane here, O lane here. And do we have anything here? Get something like... well, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of things that are still scoring plays. Also notice, I was looking at ovoids the whole time, but avoids is also good. As a potential way to come down here. I just don't think I have anything with this rack because I'm just so vowel heavy. I was so close to things like, you know, dopamine or ptomaine or something like that, but... yeah, maybe we should be thinking about something that would come down here. But... or even just a small two-tile play or something that would create some positions. Notice that she's playing off one S for very few points. It looks very much like she's undoubling the S. I think that's kind of implied. Yeah, I might just continue to open up something. We can find some kind of good play here. I feel like just doing something like this. Now, this has got to be something. This is airsome. I don't know if there's something else in here. This is definitely airsome. We have two spots. ITA is good in Collins. We have three spots, actually, but you're not going to play Suns and, you know, put the A up in this spot. That's not a good idea. And of course, we have this lane down here, which I believe airsum doesn't actually take anything on the end, so that's not too much of a problem. Lasers, okay. I guess we'll just do airsum down the other lane then. That's probably the best response, unless I can see a better play, say, through some of those tiles. No, let's just not waste time. Okay, J is going to go where for us? I have this vague memory that this spelling of jizz is actually good in Collins. And that's not a bad play if so, even with the UNN remaining on our rack. This, of course, is a good J spot for something like JUN. That's probably first choice, is to go with the J down there, but regardless, we're going to have some kind of J play. And so, yeah, looking at other ways to maybe string the J through some other positions. That's only about 26. Looking at this as well, but I don't think that's going to be anything other than Jins, which, you know, CIU is not the worst, but that gives too much back, I think, for the 40 points that it's giving me. So yeah, first choice here. And we'll see what else becomes available. But I think I kind of have a plan for either side of the board. And so it just depends on what she decides to open up. But yeah, a pretty close game right now, just a 2-point difference. Vote, okay. That's going to be about 26 points. We definitely take this. Don't like the doubled I. Now a tripled I. But we will just have to get rid of that with a play like, you know, mini somewhere or something similar. You know, something along that line of thinking. Definitely playing off eyes is the priority right now, I would say. Definitely looking at this spot here as well, in case we have like Ionic. Ionic is not too bad, except the C is a really decent bingo tile, and so that's risky. But that solves a lot of issues in terms of scoring decently and having a good leave. It's just that, you know, some of the time the opponent is just going to destroy you there, and we have to be aware of that. I mean, we could do Ionic up here, but you have to remember that Ionic does take some stuff in front. I believe it takes P for Pionic. And only 14 points. 14 points shuts this stuff down. I don't know if I like that, given that you still have the P in the bag. Not that the P is going to be a huge threat, because the P is mostly going to be starting rather than an ending tile. Anyway, the Ionic idea down here is going to be dead. Interestingly enough, if we had AN instead of AR, we could have gone, I think, N Ionic. Only thing that's going to go in front of Azo here should be Lazo. And yeah, Filipino, I do play both dictionaries on this stream. We are currently playing the larger Collins International Dictionary, which has a whole bunch of stuff I don't know. I kind of like the idea of going Ionic, depending on how worried we are about the P coming in up top. Other option is just mini, but 22 vowels, 33 consonants in the bag. Maybe we are comfortable keeping OI. Not too fond of doing something like that. Not enough points to matter. So let's see. Yeah, it would mostly just be the P that concerns me, and, you know, other things that could happen, like ing endings. I like it. Maybe I'll come to regret that. Anyway, this is going to be a Railman. That's not going to go down anywhere, I don't think, but as I was saying, this spot I think is only going to take L Verlazo. Railman. Oh, you know, I should have considered it. This is Collins. This takes an H. H could actually be a problem here. And the ing ending. There we go. Precisely the worst scenario coming out of that, because it doesn't even give me anything. I still can't play Railman, so yeah, we got killed by that. That was not great. Well, let's see what we can do here. I mean, 19 vowels, 26 consonants. Could maybe just go for something like that. I think that's good. Just turn over some tiles. The pool is not great. Notice no S's, no blanks. Lots of E's, though. Tons of E's, in fact. Relative to all of the other vowels. I'm just looking at this carefully to make sure we're not missing something really big coming out of the G. We're very close to something like Germinal, but unfortunately not. So yeah. Anyway, burning a lot of time on display. I think I just need to probably go MAA or MAR. Oh no, RI is not a word. What am I saying? That's or just extend that even further. Yeah. So yeah, okay, no, that was wrong. Or AAL here is not too bad. Depending on what we are trying to keep. I want to keep the L once more for the L hook here. So let's just go this. Although maybe I should have thought about keeping one A for the AL ending, because that's often what the L endings are going to consist of. And yeah, so Netcat, this platform has been something that has been up since October, and it's steadily been developed. And a lot of the people who play in clubs and tournaments have gravitated over here because it is the most web-friendly and stream-friendly interface. And so yeah, it's not just tournament players who play here, obviously. There are a lot of people who come here on Woogles fairly casually as well, but definitely a lot of the early uptake was from those of us who had long been missing competitive play over the board because, of course, the pandemic had its objections to that. Currently seeing what we can do here. I've been thinking about the F spot here, in fact. Or something, you know, like if you do Fleur, you create a T-hook with Flirt. It does block off the L idea, but maybe the L idea was not that great to begin with. Notice that AT is going to create a spot for both E as well as T, so you get things like potential TE endings. And yeah, And yeah, Netcat, that's definitely one of the appeals of this, that previously the main service that people were using to play online was a Java client from the early 2000s that was run out of Romania. And it was very functional. And very functionally built in that you could enter everything from a command line and so on, but definitely not as pleasant to look at. But yeah, they've done a lot to design this with a broadcast audience in mind, so it is hopefully relatively easy to follow. So yeah, my opponent is currently 40 points ahead while it is her turn. And currently just trying to think about what I can do. So I, next to this big spot here, does imply that I can string something to the F. Because now there's not enough space, I think, for something like this idea to create a hook. Lots of E's in the bag, so I don't mind burning this a little bit consonant heavy, I believe. Yeah, definitely still thinking about, whoops, what I can do with a G as well. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to open this up, create some volatility down there, but I feel like I'm going to draw poorly into that. Maybe something like this. It does stretch out a bit. Keeping TN is not too bad, once again, with this going everywhere. I don't know, I mean, obviously you score more taking the F down to that position, but it really doesn't improve my situation much at all. And I'm still thinking about this H that I left beside Ionic because I wasn't thinking in Collins. Okay, this is something. This is Nortina. Which is not going to fit anywhere. I don't think. EN, nope, IA is not going to be good. So unfortunately, this will not go down with things as they are right now. But we'll keep it in mind in case something opens, which... Oh no, we have Nortina down here. Okay, never mind that. So Nortina will fit as long as my opponent doesn't play something like that. Or parallel like that. Which she might. I mean, right now I'm kind of asking her to basically punish that spot. We should, of course, look at this carefully to see that we're not missing something much better. That's the only 7 I know in there, unless there is something in Collins. But there could be potentially something that is an 8-letter word that scores a lot better, so... Just going to look at that very quickly, but I think Nortina is going to be at play. Yeah, because, you know, something like the G... Still a lot of possibilities there. Obviously, this does open up the triple lane. It doesn't score very well. It's going to put me 1 point ahead, but I think she'll probably pull ahead again very quickly just because this spot is so dangerous. But yeah, we have a game. So 1 point difference between us right now, but my opponent has initiative as well as a lot of good places to go, so... Just very heavy on vowels on my side right now. To the point where I'm considering just doing something like ague just to get rid of stuff for points. Ooh, that's going to hit hard. 47 points. That's going to hit very hard. 15 in the bag. Once again, E-hooks down here are still looking pretty good. I think this sleeve is a bit consonant heavy, given that you have 8 vowels to 14 consonants in the bag. I would like to ideally get rid of definitely the U, but maybe also the G. I don't know if I have a better way to do it now. Looking at this, I mean, you can always stretch out a bit like this. That's a nice sleeve, in fact. Okay, 11 points there. 18 points there. I feel like this is going to put me in a significantly better position going into the next turn. You open up some lanes. Problem with this is that if my opponent plays up here, then you block this lane. 2 lanes get killed at once, and so it's not great. That is not the last A. That is not the... Oh, there's a Q in the bag. I forgot that we may still have an endgame Q situation. QI still open here. And that does raise the value of a U quite a bit, but Q in bag, X in the bag, 1 U still in the bag. Not really a bingo board. Yeah, going to be a little bit risky. We have the last U. I should not play the last U until we see what's going on with the Q, I think. Or at least we should not play off the last U unless I have either A, very, very good reason, or B, 2 spots that are like this, that are Q dumps. And I'm far enough behind that a small play with a Q is not going to do the trick. I want to score with the Q, ideally. And so we should be careful here. Now, 1P is still available for that Pionic idea, which all this time has remained available. Okay. 4-letter words beginning with I are not really as high potential as they may seem. Looking at some kind of parallels down here, like maybe with the K in this position, but you need something like an R for that for Drek. And there are no remaining R's. Trying to remember if AWK is good in Collins. I know AUK is good in both. Not that that does much for me, because the only thing I have right now that goes under AT is E. However, we could potentially have things going down here with the N. You know, like if we want to do Ken and keep the very ugly looking BCIU, or Ben would be better perhaps, keep the CK combination for something like Quick, if that ever goes down anywhere. Oh, also, keeping the U, in this situation, we probably do want to draw towards the Q, because if we draw towards the Q, then at least we're guaranteed SUQ down here. And that scores over 30, and it is not at risk of opening anything additional, because there are no S's or blanks remaining. So, given that, and given that we're not likely to be going for a bingo at this point, I feel like Let's see here. Yeah, spending the H down here means that H is no longer a threat down here. SUQ might actually be our best shot. But we need to decide this stuff, pretty soon. Also, if I do something like being, no, because if my opponent has the other Q, there are no eyes left, the other Q would bomb that location. I feel like if we're giving up on the idea of making up that remaining 60 points with a bingo, then something like Ben is pretty defensible. Maybe not great. Unless we want to like play off a B and fish for the Q to draw something like Quicken. That's not actually likely. 7 in the bag. Also have to deal with the fact that X is also available for potential X plays going down here. Or indeed X plays going down here. Yeah. Tough spot here. I think the miracle play would be, fish off the B, draw into Quicken, and have Quicken do my taxes. But failing that, looks like we just need to hedge against a Q and draw Q and X or something in some order. And look at that, picking up the other B very quickly. 4 in the bag. Y is not too bad, because if we have something like sex going into sexy, although I think he would know, or she would know, that with Y still unseen, that, you would also prefer to play like socks or sax. But yeah, with 4 in the bag, we're not going to get more than 1 draw at this point, and so this is going to be really pretty tricky. B, of course, takes Y at the end, and that's important if we want to play something like Icky. 33 points, that's not too bad. We get Icky, we create that second QI spot, we also draw once again towards the Q. Q is not an issue. Okay. Looks like the Q is done. So now, is there something that would finish on the Q? I don't think there is here. And yeah, I think we may have just lost at this point, but notice ITA is going to be good, ETA is good, UTA is good. Yeah, you got Buck. Empties the bag. Don't know, because at this stage I don't see a pathway to recover a 60-point difference, to be honest. Although, if you get something like Yuck, I think Yag is good. I was kind of looking at this spot for beta, but I don't remember if UTA takes that in front. Yeah, tough spot here. Particularly because we don't know what's going to go on with the X. We should keep I and E. Oh, you know what? I like this idea. The idea now is to draw to the X. We draw to the X, we get 2 spots. We get this spot, we get this spot. That's our route. And we don't get the route because we don't draw the X, so my opponent's likely play at this point is here. to kill me with the X, and we lose. But given what I was seeing, I think that was the right idea, to draw for the X and count on 30 to 40 points. But at this point, I'm dead. I don't think, with the X on my opponent's side, we have any remaining options. So we just play this out and see what we can do. And yeah, but given the information I have, I feel like this was okay. And so we'll just need to find a reasonable out at this point. Deal with the fact, perhaps, that my opponent is going to struggle a little bit with the V. The V is pretty sticky looking right now. I mean, I feel like 100% she plays the X here with OX or EX. And if she does that... Yeah, OX right there. If she does that, even if I had some kind of slow play route, there's no way I could catch her. So, at this point, just need to look for something. I mean, we have, of course, the L idea here, and that's something to keep in mind for a second turn. We should be able to go twice, given the situation with V and P on my opponent's side. I don't know if she'll see the Pionic Hook at all. I've been eyeing all this time. But if I'm thinking about EL as my second play, I should think about YI as my first play. If there's some way to do it. So that's the ideal set of tiles I want to be using here. Not super urgent that I play off the Y either, I think, given that... I mean, we don't want to do this because she'll... We don't want to do that first, rather, because then she'll have a convenient place to dump off the V. Of course, she could also see the L spot here with her own L. And so... let's see what I can do. I mean, this is not too bad. It kills the L idea over here, but it does allow me to play off in definitely here. And let's see where else. If we, yeah, we have two spots. 3 spots, perhaps. We have a number of spots. And this is a lost game anyway, so I don't think this is anywhere near optimal, but this has the advantage of not creating more things for my opponent to do on what is a very consonant-heavy rack. So likely next play will be something like this for 7. And we'll be able to get some points off of those clunky consonants on the other side, but not nearly enough to matter. Yeah, having my opponent pick up both the Q and the X at the end did close off a lot of opportunities. And the X in particular. I think the X coming on one of the last draws does kind of turn the game. I don't know if she would have already been holding the X when playing off the Q. If you were holding both Q and X on your rack at that point, the priority should be to play off the Q for points, and especially because she would also know that 2 spots are available for the X afterwards as a follow-up play. So that's one thing we'll keep an eye on when we go into the examining board afterwards. But again, given my information, I do feel like foregoing bingo possibilities, keeping the U to bet you know, to hedge against a Q. And drawing towards the X was probably my best route. I don't know, that's a difficult situation though, because the pool at that point just looks so clunky. VoIP. Like, voice over internet protocol? Is that in Collins? I don't know. Okay, maybe it is. But I wonder if it's one that I would have seen. I mean, I'm not going to give her 5 points over this, I don't think, at this point. But it does create 10 points as a note. We'll find out in a moment if any phonies went down, but it looks like we have another loss here. It totally is voice over internet protocol. I didn't know that in other countries they just say VoIP in lowercase. Because I've only ever heard people say VoIP. But I feel like it's one that stuck out at me as a weird Collins thing, because I did at least look at the short V words once, I think. An opponent played it against you last week, okay. And, yeah. Well, since we have maybe a little bit of time before the next round, we should look over this board and see what else that reveals about what we played. I feel like a lot turned on this here. That Ionic, obviously I was thinking about dumping vowels, but this position I was thinking, okay, the only thing that's going to happen there is ING bingo. Maybe some kind of medium scoring P-play. But then, of course, you know, when you say that's the kind of thing that might happen, it just happens to you. And I also completely forgot about the CH down there. And yeah, a lot of stuff going all the way to the endgame draws, though, for sure. And also, I don't know if I would have had a better positioning for Nortina in terms of an 8 play somewhere else that didn't open up such a huge comeback, because Hey 47 really punished that. Anyway, let's look at the analysis board and not leave this to guesswork. So, yeah, it looks like my opponent's opening rec is triple I, and that's why I believe she does exchange out of this. And she exchanges all 3 I's, thinking that she wants to avoid further duplication. Interesting that keeping IRS does evaluate slightly higher, but then that's just a raw evaluation, not considering the pool, so. Ovoid, oh, in that location, yeah. I was thinking in terms of, you know, void going into ovoid. OMOV is very much a Collins word, a voting system of one man, one vote. You know, when you've made all your political campaigning calls over VoIP or VoIP, then you cast your ballot in OMOV, apparently. Yeah, Wuss. I think she went for Wiss, actually. Don't know why she would go for Wiss over Wuss, unless she's thinking, oh yeah, unless she's thinking of the I hook that would go over that. Boot. Oh, I wasn't really visualizing IO, even though I know it as a Collins word. I just wasn't visualizing that. Because I was looking for parallels over here, and I was thinking, okay, I in first position, that's not going to be anything useful. And I clearly wrote that off much, much too quickly. Z blank already on my opponent's side. And yeah, that's the play where she decides to go out here and dump one S, but not dump the Z. And yeah, let's take a look at this. I wonder if I was missing something on this rack. It was a little bit vowel heavy. Oh, Ipmia's, of course. I've even played that before. It looks impossible to see. But when you have that many vowels, it's one of the few bingos, like when you consider it as a 7, that has 5 vowels, particularly in that arrangement. And so it's one of those where occasionally I'll be able to just look at it and see it immediately, despite how weird it is, just from Alphagram. But I think I was just not really, well practiced when it comes to doing anagrams lately, and so that was just a straight miss. So Glazers is going to come down, and anything with a Z down there is going to hit me really hard, as you can see. Drazels. Ah, okay. Also a Dratshell, if you ever want to play a 9 like that. This is definitely going to be a hit. Aersum, yeah, I decided not to go for that position. Armories, interesting. Armoires. No, I liked Aersum. Suni is an interesting Collins hook, I think. And yeah, despite how appealing this rack looks, it would have something like Tentoria through an I think. Nothing through this board, so she does fine vote. And yeah, this is definitely the play. I considered that. Didn't want to give the J back like that, so. Trinery. So sun as a plant. Trinery is just kind of like ternary, I guess. And trainer, yeah, once again, it requires you to know this hook. And so she misses, and I assume it's because, while my opponent in this game is a Collins dominant player, sometimes a lot of the Collins hooks can be very difficult to spot. And yeah, if I had considered sun, double N, let me check this quickly for the lexicons. Yeah, it is good in both. I've seen it often enough. I didn't think about it, because it's clearly best. If I'm thinking about that position rather than just playing off here, I just didn't even think about the N hook. And so that was just playing a bit blind. Because it's so much better than the 14 points that I got off of that. Especially because this is not vulnerable to that ing ending that decided so much of the middle game. Lots of stuff here, writhing, wristing, twirling. But in any case, you can see that this is a huge mistake, just not seeing the far higher scoring ionic positioning one column to the right. Anyway, I saw Railman. I did not see Laminar. Let me look up some of this stuff. Yeah, I don't think I knew Arret either. I feel like I would have seen it because I've looked over some of the Collins hooks, but not very systematically. Laminar is... yeah, it's definitely one of the anagrams of Railman, I think. Let me just check this. Yeah, Laminar and Railman. But I just didn't, at least not off the top of my head, remember Arret was good in Collins. Because I was definitely looking at the L hook for lazo, which is a Collins word as well. So, as an alternative, I feel like I made a bad play. Missing stuff like Mania, Vanilla. Yeah, lots of stuff I could have done instead. I would have turned over some more tiles and extended the board into something a little more open. Okay, so here's my opponent's turn here. Heed, look at that fantastic positioning. I was looking at the UME hook, but just never wound up having anything to use, you know, going down beside a J. But that's a hard one to see, not only because of the Collins only UME, but also, you know, SH sometimes, I think, is a difficult parallel to I. So, what does she do here? Find, okay. And yes, Paxman, that is correct. That it is Xenoblade 2. I've been rotating between a different set of video game soundtracks for this stream. And hopefully the volume is fine and it's not too intrusive. But, you know, often, and not always, I find that game music is the only thing safe to play on Twitch without running into audio muting issues, and even that doesn't stop the notorious problems with things like Super Mario World Castle and the, you know, copyright detection issues there from giving us a hard time, so. And yeah, glad you enjoy it, Tactics47. I know there's been some discussion about whether or not to be playing background music in streams like this, simply because a lot of people who do watch the Scrabble streams like to have multiple boards open at once. But I think that since I don't have the webcam going, that there's enough thinking time that I want to fill with something if you just have a still image going on, so some kind of thinking music is perhaps not the worst thing in the world. So yeah, I was thinking of Fleur. I was definitely looking at the L spot, sorry, the F spot here, but keeping NRT in this pool, I guess it's very heavy in ease. I don't know if I liked that. I was definitely wary of the counterplay, and the evaluation here does not consider positional issues like what the counterplay is going to be. Pairings are coming up in just a moment, so I'm going to rush through this. Nortina is in fact the only thing there. That's what I was wondering about. And Nortina in that position was going to punish me with that rack. I was thinking about Uncage up there, but I feel like I was behind enough at this point that I did not want to do stuff like that with the Q still in the bag. And I even played off one U, but with QU still in the bag. And yeah, this is where she goes for Egged, which is the highest scoring play. So she's thinking just about outrunning at this point, and I guess she's kind of keeping the A and the T for the Q as well, and that pays off immediately in the next turn. I don't think I knew that spelling of Bucky, because it's Scots, and if it's Scots, it's probably just Collins. Let's take a look at that, actually. Yeah. More Scots. Oh, look at that, Baku. Hottentot. Oh, interesting. Also, Buku. And yeah, no, I think going cat there was fine. QAT. Not a lot of points, but I mean, obviously if you see Talak for 48 points, you take it. It's just so much better than everything else. Okay, I will be heading into my next game in just a moment. So, I was thinking about stuff like Voxel, but at that point she's got the win, so not much else to look at here. Yeah, not a very exhaustive look, but let's get back into the lobby and let's play. Okay, this will be North American lexicon. I will be going first. I will almost certainly be exchanging. I'm probably going to keep NO blank. Unless I want to keep an additional constant out of that. I don't think so. I think I'm going to keep NO blank. Okay, so let's think about this. Would need to have 2 tiles to play through for something like convolute. Volcano. There we go. Let's see if this goes down. Unfortunately, having both the V and the C in this word makes it difficult, but hey, he's going to give me the turn. Great. There we go. Okay. Frog tap. Elastin. We should be thinking about, whoops, taking that very juicy triple spot if I can. It would have to be with something like the P. But let me see if there's something better that we can do. Like, you know, proof is not too bad. We're about 20. Given that we're pretty much even right now, though, I don't know if I like leaving this spot open. It's just that we don't have that much we can do with it. I feel like we should just take this. Maybe there's something better in there. Nice thing about the third game is that afterwards I can take a little bit more time to look at it properly instead of rushing through the endgame. It's almost fortunate that we haven't had any really tight endgame decisions to look at. Or, you know, rounds 1 and 2 when we often run out of time not knowing when the next round is going to be heard for sure. So yeah, that spot's going to be diffused. It does mean that he doesn't have anything much more threatening there. Obviously we don't want to be keeping both G's. Almost feel like something like a Gaga is not too bad. Or even just Gag. Because Gag would have an E-hook, but in a very dangerous lane. Lag. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, you know, something like this doesn't actually open up. Something like this... No, because the G doesn't take much out of it. I don't like putting the A beside this, so I think that idea is bad. Maybe I'm writing off the possibility of holding a bingo too quickly. Yeah. Don't really like plays like that. But keeping N and G together is not too bad, so... We're both just making small rack management plays right now. Ooh, that Z spot there. Not actually that damaging. The Z doesn't land on any kind of bonus. Let's see here. Probably want to do a play that's a little more damaging. Interestingly enough, we can do something like negate 34. It does create some problems here in terms of D and S and so on. But 34 points to turn over. Not too bad, really. It's just that a lot of things can happen out of this to create issues. So if I can find something else that starts with NE, that would be great, but I don't know if that will happen. But hey, welcome, Terminator. Hope you're doing well. Hope the surfing has been treating you well. I don't know if you've been managing to send the last shell surfing finale to very many streamers who can see that spectacular ending. And yeah, I guess there was that issue with the Lemmy timing early on that you wanted to make some repairs to. I'm happy to take a look at that a second time since it did not take too long for me to learn. Now obviously in this position I'd be looking at stuff like HOD. I doubt that would stay open. I would also of course look at the negated D ending. If there's anything that would go down there as a 6. Okay. Yeah, okay, that kind of kills that idea. But let's see if there is anything that we can do down here. There's probably some kind of really obvious 5 that I'm missing. Also, I have to remember that I'm playing TWL again. Or NWL. I feel like Wendy is not actually good. Let me think about this. Should just focus on this position, of course. And yeah, it bothered you enough, Terminator, to force you to go back? I mean, you know, it's such a satisfying level as you get to the end of it that I think that level of polish really does pay off, rather. Let's just go here. Okay, this has got to be something. This has got to be something. Phaeton's phonates doesn't fit here. Looking down here at the Y ending as well. Yeah, so the thing I was looking at here was like, you know, Phaeton's phonates doesn't go through the H. Position is wrong for that. I wonder if there's a 7 in here. This is such a familiar looking rack that we should definitely be looking at anything through an R as well. Like anything through an R. So let's, whoops. Proteans? Protean has a set in it, right? Protean has a 7, doesn't it have a whole bunch of other stuff? It's been too long since I've looked at any of this. Operant. So operants would at the very least be available. Unless operant is only an adjective, like an operant conditioning or something like that, but... yeah, Protean, operant, I feel like there's something else. This is one of those games that you thought you were really good at until you played it. Yeah, I think that's true of everybody who tries to play this at an advanced level. You think you're good at this, but it takes a while to get to a point where you feel even mildly comfortable against a decent opponent. I'm burning way too much time. Let's try it. I don't know if operant takes an S on the end. It might not. Yeah, because I saw Protean, operants. Maybe I should have been looking at an E for like operate somewhere, but I didn't see it. I feel like I definitely missed a 7 though. It's such a familiar looking rack. There's got to be something else in there. But okay, so he's going to leave operants. Once again, not 100% confident in stuff like that. Whoosh. I always think of whoosh as starting with WH, but dentary I think is good. D-E-N-T-A-R-Y, but there is no place. I don't think so anyway. I'm looking at a place where it can go and I just don't see it. I don't have vowels that go after S, so this currently is not available. I could always just play 6 tiles, go dentary down here, but keeping the Y out of that. Don't know if I like it. Should be looking through the O here, in case there is anything. Let's see here. This looks familiar. Arointed. Arointed. There we go. I think there's something else in there too, but Arointed is definitely good, with both the Y and the I spelling. It's a good set to know, because often you wouldn't look at something like YN as 2 letters that would go in that order. Okay. Obviously, this spot is kind of dangerous if there's a fat consonant that will come down here. So I should be trying to probably diffuse that next turn with something like bird if I can, even if it keeps all 3 vowels. Right now, though, 15 vowels, 15 consonants in the bag. I don't want to stick myself with too many vowels at the end, when there are still very consonant-prone spots like this that are available. X is still available. That's very important. Also, because this is not Collins, I do not have OB, which would have given me something like board. But not in this lexicon, we don't. Okay. B, however, does give me some possibilities here, like boar 35. Don't like keeping both eyes, especially when 3 eyes are still in the bag. But I don't really see a way to play off eyes here and score. So I think something like that is probably okay. Yeah, right now the big threat is actually the X-bomb here, I think. Or plays that go through here. Now let's take this and see. Okay, we've got the X. Wonderful. So, EX is obviously going to be first choice. And if that is not available, we have some other possibilities, I think. Nothing as good, but yeah. This is also available as an X spot. 36, not as good, but it completely kills this off because XU does not take anything at the end. Should be looking at other things we can do just in case, but the fact that I have 2 not terrible X spots on either end of the board makes me feel very safe when I have about an 80-point lead already, so. I would be maybe worried about stuff, you know, ITE endings here. But I don't think that's worth a 20-point sacrifice. I want to take this spot, because otherwise this will be taken up by something else. Yeah. The important thing to remember is that Q is still in the bag. There are 2 U's in the bag, so I'm not too worried about the Q's ability to go down, especially not now, because it has gone down. Interesting, because this strongly implies that my opponent did not have one of the remaining U's. Because there probably would have been a better play elsewhere. Maybe not. I think we have to get this while it's available. I'm way too heavy on vowels now, especially with double the U. I'm 100 ahead. I would actually consider... I think I have to consider position first, by closing off bingo possibilities, given that there is some danger in the bag, although OES right now is something that I cannot deal with, which is now open. Unless I just, you know, come down here and block it with do or something. In fact, making small plays like that to block the most dangerous lanes is probably the right idea. What I don't want to have happen is for my opponent to have something, if you look at the pool, if you look at what's in the bag, you don't want him to play something like joiners here, right? So the way you would deal with that is by obstructing it with something like a small play here or here. Because right now, without the S, I cannot deal with this, because this only takes O, this only takes S. Iodine, interesting, because iodine would go down, like if you have something like idem for 37 points. So, 6 tiles in a bag. I don't like how this sticks me with 3 vowels. But this could also hit me really hard if I leave it. Because, you know, imagine that my opponent has something like an S-H ending here. So the question is, given what we see in the bag, are we worried about something like a huge J bingo that ends here? In which case we would block. I think we're more worried about stuff like this. And so even though it's absolutely terrible to keep IUU, I think I'm doing it. And now we just try to survive and not get stuck on stuff. I mean, we have a natural spot for U and J over here. Interestingly enough, this AA takes H at the end, so we might eventually want to do something down there as well. H also goes here, not that that's giving me anything interesting. But it's important to keep in mind, I guess. Obviously, Y here is still technically open, but you know, sometimes you have things like an ITY ending or something like that, but for the most part, I don't think I'm going to be too paranoid about that. I feel like this is the best spot. If you look in the pool with 2 tiles left in the bag, you can see things like Curites or Icterus, or basically all kinds of things that will end there. So if no play goes down there, or if a small play goes down elsewhere to fish into the bag, then first of all we will see what my opponent has, because after the next play we'll kind of know if he's close to anything. And in any case, I think one bingo at this point isn't going to get him anywhere close to win. Beautiful fit, look at that. I was looking at the Y the whole time thinking, you know, is there a way to go like YS or YD? Beautiful fit. Only 38 points, unfortunately, so it is still a loss there. That's, I think at this point I just lay off the J somewhere. And I don't know if the possibilities are going to be that interesting. I mean, next move might be something like FEH. I don't think my opponent has anywhere to play off all 4 tiles, like no place for QT to an E or something. But yeah, we'll just see what we can do. But yeah, I expect that my opponent will be playing off remaining tiles before I manage to. If we're, you know, feeling uncertain about that, we can always play meh and express our indifference. I do feel like FEH is going to be the best play, though. And that's just sort of with the expectation, once again, that my opponent will play out first. Although that has DUI down here. Okay, so that's going to block that idea. Maybe I legitimately should just go meh. Although my opponent will go out, so we need to calculate here. This is 26 face value, but it's going to be 26 minus 7 by 2, and that's going to be plus 12. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is my opponent will presumably, after my turn, will get my remaining tiles times 2. And so we need to keep that in mind here. That's 23 minus 12, that's plus 11. 23, once again, plus 11. This might actually be best. 26 minus 14. This 25 minus 12, except it gives my opponent IT in this position, and so that's not actually as good. Because that scores all the time. Yeah, because 25 minus 12 there, that's plus 13, but then my opponent's counterplay is going to be fairly big. 16 and 6, 22, yeah. Not doing that. We can do this, though. That avoids the problem. Because then... next play after that, could even do it with the F to retain the H, just in case. I mean, we've got the win. We don't need to spend too long on this stuff, but, oh yeah, look at this. 28 minus 12, that's 16. That's probably best, in fact. Let's go with that. So, yeah, we'll pass, and that's going to be done. So, going to wish my opponent a GG, and that's going to be the end of game number 3. So, all words played are valid, so I was correct that operance does work as a noun. Yeah, of course, because you can be an operand. Sometimes when you're in the middle of a game, some obvious things like that don't seem so obvious and you start second guessing yourself. So let's look it over. Okay, so first rack I exchanged. I thought exchange was really pretty obvious. I chose to go GMBQ, which is actually slightly worse than GPQ. But that's okay, we drew into something. My opponent, I think, did a little bit of an exchange here as well, because there are no 7s. And after seeing me exchange, I think doing a small exchange there is not a bad play. So yeah, Volcano in that position is best. I don't think there's a compelling reason to do the other ones. Score's best. Very safe in the center. Main thing is that the S does open up to the double here. After a change 2, I would expect my opponent to bingo, but you know, nothing's going to be perfectly safe when you just bingo on the first turn like that. Might as well just take the points. Yeah, Elastin, great. 85 point double-double. Double-double over here, lots of possibilities. Elastin was best. And binding things together in an almost offensively sounding bundle. That's a good placement for that. Forgat. Oh yeah, if you forgot. Yeah, where did I even go? I went proof here. I should have considered some of these other possibilities, I guess, for a better leave. Proof is not something that is in the engine evaluation, so... Look how close this is to something like ability. Indeed, did you see ability there? It doesn't go down as a 7, of course. But yeah, I believe taking a B there was, in fact, my opponent's move, and it... Yeah, this turn I was definitely thinking about playing off to G's. It turns out the lag that I chose there for a meager 13 points actually does evaluate very well. And that both of these are kind of nice. Obviously, positionally speaking, if I'm going for a bingo soon, that's a better position because I leave this lane open for myself. I mean, it's likely to not stay open, but, you know, at the same time, the board is a little more advantageous. I don't remember. Yeah, this is the turn where you saw Tiz. I guess depending on whether you're comfortable with the all-consonant leave, you know, that would be the consideration with weighing that against Zitty. But I can kind of see the case for Tiz there. I mean, it still leaves this very bingo open. Yeah, but I can see the sort of reluctance to just keep LMY. However, you can see just how much better this evaluates. Given that it is a 10-point sacrifice there. Negate actually evaluates very well. Oh, and we took that. I was worried about this lane here the whole time, but, you know, that actually didn't really wind up being too much of an issue. I look at this and I see muscly, and I don't see a place to go with it. I wonder if there was a place, because I believe muscly is actually good. Let me check that, in fact. Yeah, muscly definitely good, but no place. And if you can't play that bingo with this rack, it's actually not a good rack at all, so... This would have been good, actually. Yule's in that position. But instead, what did we see? We saw Limey. Yeah, I guess keeping SU as... No, I think Yule's is way better. I mean, my opponent would be worried maybe about opening up that triple, but... You don't need to keep double S in that situation. 36 points for this, though. It is something that scores very well. Mussy scores great, but I can see why you wouldn't just be dumping both S's like that. Okay, so, and, you know, Limey did wind up having the advantage of blocking off my own intended play there. Look at this headway. 51 points because of, well, just how heavy the consonants are. Beautiful play, actually, leaving the N. Odd is second place, but by some distance, just because you're comparing 35 points here to 51 over there. That's actually really kind of a beautiful six-letter play if you find it. Yeah, still kind of clunky looking on my opponent's side. Definitely the recommendation here is to play off one S. And my opponent does that here. Yeah, pretty close to equivalent. I mean, Sulky would have opened up a lane. Lurks... It isn't really as dangerous here, given that the R only takes the E at the end. But I think if you have both S's, you probably want to go Sulky, because if you're keeping the other S, then you keep this lane open for yourself as an S lane. Because if you play here for Lurks instead, compared to something like Sulky, you are killing a spot where your other S can potentially give you something good, so maybe that just wasn't considered. Not sure if I missed anything here other than operants. Stanhope, look at that, fantastic. 167 points, that would have been nice to see, but, you know. I think unless you're looking specifically there by anagram... Oh, I should know that, because I was looking at Phonate's Phaetons, and Stanhope is in that set. Let's... Yeah. I'd forgotten that was the third one in that set, and if I had, I was already looking at the H-Bingo. Good in both lexicons. I don't know if it's new. I think I just forgot that it was a set of 3. Because I feel like I've definitely seen it as that set, and I just... I think it's one of those where even if you are solving anagrams, unless you know the alphagram cold, it's very difficult to see this one except through study. Because it's just one of those that, you know, looks weird enough. In terms of how often you're actually going to be looking at these letter combinations. I think, Tactics 47, what might be going on there is, if you remember looking at Phaeton and Phonate as a set from studying 7s, if you remember that combination as a set of 2 from studying 7s, then you would miss Stanhope. And I find that I do that pretty often, actually, when going from sets of 7s to sets of 8s, that it's very easy to miss some of the weirder positions that the S creates, the weirder anagrams that it adds on to the group. And that's probably the problem that I was running into there as well, that I was thinking Phaeton Phonate, and I just didn't bother to think about it as an 8s set instead. And I think in terms of 7s, those are the only ones that go there. Let me check. Yeah, Phaeton Phonate. Wahoo's and Whoosh. Oh, Wahoo's is actually, I mean, it leaves the E ending here, but then you don't have the issue of the X bomb coming down here later. It's much less threatening here. I saw Dentary didn't go down. Arointed I did see, and that's the only thing, so I'm glad I caught that. Ovary. Yeah, I guess if you're holding a Q at that point, very strong incentive to play it, but this was the play where my opponent went Vera, I think, and so holding QAO out of that. Yeah, I kind of wonder about the reasoning there. But I think, you know, my opponent is probably trying to play in that spot at all costs just to avoid falling further behind from something bombing out that position, and so I feel like that was probably the reasoning. Like, if you are committed to playing in this spot, then I guess you play Vera, because nothing else is going to deal with that. Okay. I didn't think about Oidia there. Given the pool, 13 vowels, 13 consonants, that actually looks pretty reasonable. I think I was looking at BY here and thinking that I should use it. Oidia actually scores quite well. But Boar is pretty similar. Both of these score 35. Boar is a little worse because of the leave with II. QUA down here is, I think, pretty obvious at this point that you want to play off Q. As the player who is behind, I can see, yeah, he probably doesn't want massive threat to go down here, but I don't know, I think that's a hard choice. Because it's not like this is going to obstruct too much, with the W being a difficult lane to go through, but if he's concerned about some kind of follow-up play here, then I can see that. I just feel like at this point he needs this lane more than I do, or even up top here. Not that much will end on top to U other than something like EN. Anyway, oh, didn't think about Ixia. Ixia is way better. Way better. Not only in terms of the 4 points, but you can see there's a 15-point difference in equity there. And I think if I had bothered to look at it, that would be very much the obvious play. Also because I think in this lexicon there's no OIS, if I recall. Or is there? Let me check. Yeah, no. OIS is call-ins only, and so I would not have to be paranoid about this. So yeah, Ixia is significantly better choice. Irony, Ion... Yeah, 11 in the bag at this point, in a situation where he absolutely needs a bingo. What was the play here? Iodine, yeah. Ooh, I don't... yeah, I guess that was keeping the E. So he played off Iodine, keeping ER. In hopes that you would have something you can do there. Given the remaining pool, there aren't really that many good E big consonant endings, except maybe like ECH or something like that. Because from this perspective, you know, I was worried about things like SH endings. I was not really too worried about E consonant endings. Yeah, I might have just played Ion somewhere. Because... Yeah, at this point, if you're looking at the pool and you see like U, I, while you're already holding 2 I's, I can see why you might want to dump both I's. That's one thing that would kind of lead to considering something like Iodine. That's holding 2 I's with 3 more coming, potentially. Looks kind of ugly. Item looks best. So, other than the leave, that was pretty clear cut, but I think this was definitely a land grab for that position, and so the leave is just something I could deal with, especially... Well, I don't know, 6 in the bag, yeah, I was kind of committing to playing out of the UUI, but I felt like I could outrun at that point. And then I'd just have to soak the damage from keeping all that. Look at that Gyrus. 35 on Gyrus. And of course, you know, the engine is kind of recommending CERS as the leave, but this is literally the only spot where that's useful. But Geyser's really quite nice. I mean, positionally speaking, I think that's very satisfying. It is highest scoring play here, I think. Obviously, you know, you're kind of committing to the loss at that point, but if you're going for spread, that's not too bad. And I think this is a lost game from 130 behind anyway, so. Haji, Fuji. Yeah, lots of stuff I didn't consider here, actually. Look at this position of Eunuch. But no, I think I wanted to dump the J as soon as I could. So. But it seems like, you know, if you're playing off as much as you can, all of these recommendations are kind of on the assumption of out in 3 or 3 plays. I think I knew my opponent would go out first anyway. Look at that! You do have an outplay here. Very hard to see to play through the BI, but that's a very clear outplay. And spread-wise, that's a significant advantage over literally anything else you can do. And yeah, that was actually correct. So, that's correct as well. And so yeah, that's it for this game. So, with that in mind, I guess that's going to be it for today's stream. It's going to be 1 win, 2 losses. 1 NWL win and 2 Collins losses, although there hasn't really been too much of a correlation lately between the Lexicon and the win-loss record. I've been surviving the Collins games, I guess. Most of the time. But this one was pretty interesting. And the other 2, I know I kind of rushed through the end games there, but I'll probably just inspect them a little more closely separately. But yeah, that's going to be it from me for this stream then. This is going to be a fairly regular session week to week that we've been doing since, I want to say, late February during this time slot, and that will ideally continue. I'm just going to scan around quickly to see if anyone would be receptive to a meager raid. Of course, Josh's stream is on fire today, actually, because Blitz Champs is going on over there. And it is deep into the playoffs, so even though we don't have too many people here and you might already be over on that stream, we might as well just drop them the raid. So thank you for coming by and watching the games. We'll be back for all kinds of content in the week ahead. So with that in mind, thanks for watching. See you in the continuation. And have a good evening, and fare thee well.